It sealed it for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough question. When I think about Lost and I think about what stands out as iconic, I mean, I just mentioned Giacchino. The music is really what sticks for me first.
Yeah.
So like Exodus, when the boat is leaving,
Yes.
that was a very strong one for me.
Mhm.
But for the last 2 or 3 months since the end of Lost, I've been obsessed with the montage at the start of the end.
Oh,
when
yeah.
it's just the musical montage starting with the
With
plane
the coffin.
opening and all of that,
Yeah.
and that specific theme song. So that sequence, especially now that we know what the Flash Sideways were,
Mhm.
I mean, just sort of the way they cut between the Flash Sideways and them on the island where they were just sort of sitting and thinking, going
Mhm.
back and forth. Like, those are definitely my favorites right now.
I'm glad they closed too, because that's one of the things that Lost has always done brilliantly is like the musical montages. Because I mean, Giacchino's a genius. But even back in the day when Hurley still had a working CD player, but it was cool that they did that. I did really like that. Hopefully they put that out on CD. Are we gonna have that on? Do you know, Ryan? If we're gonna get?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, of course, I had to hack it out myself, and so I can have it as my theme song. That's my ringtone. But yeah, but
That's your ringtone? I would be depressed every time somebody called me. I want a pizza, pepperoni with sausage.
but my fear is that, I mean, they don't come out until the next year. So if we
Yeah.
follow that pattern, it won't be next year until we get season 6.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite scene?
Probably a toss-up between the conversation and the constant and the scene where Juliet, over the monitors, sees her sister and her nephew.
Oh yeah. That one is pretty deep.
Right, the specific way that Ben turns it off.
Mhm.
She only sees her for a few seconds.
Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah. That is insane. Next question. Back here. And we'll be you next.
I'm curious, in the final few episodes, we saw that Michael was stuck in limbo on the island. And one thing that was hard for me to rationalize was that at the end, knowing that Ben could have moved on with them to whatever this other place was, where Ben had sort of annihilated, almost like a genocide with all of the Dharma Initiative, and yet Michael killed 2 people, one by accident, and the one he did kill on purpose was sort of to save his son. So I mean, you could sort of rationalize what the meanings are there, but I'm curious what you guys feel about that.
Well, but it's just like, but do we know definitively that it's for forever that you're stuck in limbo? Because was it really definitively like you're here forever, or if you get killed here, you're here as a whisper? But I mean, you don't know maybe if they spend enough time, they do get to leave, or like I don't know. And then also I feel, I mean, was Michael, I guess, could have been manipulated. Because I always feel like a lot of Ben's actions were he was possessed or consumed when he was taken into the temple, and he was under Man in Black's influence very greatly from that point forward. But I don't know, what do you guys think?
I had a problem with that too, and the only thing I could come up with was that Ben really felt like he was doing the right thing all the time. Even though he wasn't, he felt like he was. And Michael was not sorry for what he did. That's the only thing I could really come up with.
I thought Michael got a raw deal.
He did.
All he ever wanted to do was get off the island.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all he ever wanted to do. But according to Ben, and this never makes sense to me, why would Men in Black keep Michael on the island? He wants him off the island, right?
Wait,
Why would Men in Black want Michael on the island?
like what do you mean?
Was he a candidate? Do we ever know if he was a candidate?
You're talking about Jacob? Why did
Yeah,
Jacob
you said
want on
Man
the
in Black
island?
was influencing Ben.
Yes, I'm saying Man in Black was influencing Ben, like, maybe...
I don't think he was. I think Jacob was also influencing Ben.
They both.
Jacob wanted to keep everybody on the island. Right?
Did he?
Yeah, that's what his mother
Well,
he was only doing what his mom told him.
I don't think, I feel like Ben was very removed from Jacob. Like, I guess Alpert was there at the same time. I feel like...
And Alpert was working for Jacob.
I feel like Man in Black had more of an influence over Ben and his people than Jacob did, in my opinion.
I disagree.
I that's my feeling as well. But I mean, for Michael's character, he's an interesting case because he does what he had to do against his better judgment to save his son, and he gets off the island, but then chooses to come back. And so that kind of, I don't know what that does. Maybe that complicates things a little.
Yeah.
And the skeptic in me is like, well, they wanted to bring the actor back, and they needed to explain the whispers. Let's knock these two off.
Yeah.
with 3 minutes of
Yeah,
dialogue.
2 birds with one stone. Yeah. And so yeah, it is complicated. It is interesting. But you gotta remember, Ben didn't move on. He felt he didn't deserve it, or he wasn't ready.
Wasn't ready.
Right.
So,
which is why I think Walt comes into play. I think I think personally he might have stayed behind for Walt.
you think so?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's very nice. Next question. Right. That's right here. No, I'm sorry. Behind you. Then we'll see. I'm sorry. She had her hand up before. Okay.
Okay, for somebody who's seen a few episodes in the first season but never saw any of the other episodes, couldn't stand, how would you describe the show in a few sentences? How can you describe this wonderful show to somebody?
Like if you're gonna, like a salesman trying to say, "Hey, you gotta see the show."
An elevator pitch for
not
Walt?
that, but describe in terms of drama, comedy, intellectual, pulling from the classics, or how do you?
I think it's impossible to break it down to just
classify it.
Character-driven sci-fi mystery soap opera.
Well, that's not okay.
I mean, really, I think it had all those elements. You know, it had I think that's what made it so appealing. I mean, I think we all agree. I think it's what made it so appealing is it had so many elements. I mean, you had the shipper elements, you had the comedic elements, you had the drama element, you had the sci-fi element, you had the mystery element, you had, the action element.
Yeah, comedy.
But at its core, at its very core, it's a character-driven. You're learning the backstories. You're learning these people's lives. You're finding out why they're here and where they're going and how they redeem themselves or don't redeem themselves, based on their actions and what they do in life. And so that's I guess is how I would explain it.
But
Well-
somebody who says, well, why is everybody so fanatical about it?
Right.
When you're trying to unravel the mystery, unravel the puzzle.
Yeah.
When I first started watching Lost, and because of early on the hints that there was something else going on, I described it as stealth sci-fi. That they were sucking you in with a drama, a serial, but it was going to slowly turn into sci-fi, and it did. And I was like, awesome. And I think that's where some of the fanaticism comes from.
Yeah.
But I actually think that I've turned out to be wrong because, of course, with season 6 or part of season 5 and season 6, it went from drama to sci-fi to back to more character drama, and then close to fantasy to some extent. I mean, it became even something else than just drama and sci-fi. So I agree that it's hard to classify, but I think that especially now that we've seen how the show ends, it's more just for dramatic, more for the drama, more for the characters than the sci-fi, which is I think where a lot of the dissatisfaction would come from.
Yeah.
Is where they left some of the sci-fi on the cutting room floor.
Well, that's why I think it was the genius of what they did is you're right. It was very much this arc where you started here with the characters, you really got into a lot of the mystery type stuff, and then you ended with the characters. Like you kind of came full circle. For me, I mean, I know a lot of the mysteries weren't answered, but for me, I felt it was a very natural feeling progression and end to the show. The way the last season was, I felt very first season, like the way I cared and Discovery. Like I had that same feeling as I was watching the last season as when I watched the first season. So yeah.
Well, for me, I got that exact sense specifically, like the chemistry between Sawyer and Kate in season 6. The way they were kind of discovering each other again.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this feels awesome but familiar.
Yeah. Right here.
Yeah, I'm John.
John.
And one of the things that I have been wondering about for a long time is all the various spirits that show up, what I consider to be spirits. Like a prime example is Kate's horse, which you see in Australia, just kind of appears and, she basically gets free. And you see on the island, and Saeed's cat that he sees, things, little nods like that. And the island itself, it seems like when John Locke goes and has his sweat lodge experience, and he has all these visions.
Right.
I asked Damon and Carlton a question a couple years ago, like, are all of these entities including the smoke monster at the time, and the Whisperers, are they all the same thing? And their answer was, well, it's not Jacob, if that's what you're thinking. And we didn't know Man in Black at all back then. And it's basically all the same thing, they said, which I still don't know what that would be, even at this point. I was wondering if you, except for a couple exceptions, and I think those were the Whisperers.
Yeah.
So, do you feel that whatever is giving the visions to, especially John Locke and these mystical animals that kind of appear that have been seen at other times is...
I feel like maybe this is how I always kind of saw is a lot of those type of visions were Man in Black manipulating.
Yeah.
Because remember, he was able to scan people, find their things. So what for Kate to go, oh, this thing was significant. So if I form is this, it's gonna be able to turn her, or guide her a certain way that's in my favor. Same thing with John Locke. He picked Boone because he knew that he was responsible for Boone's death, so he would follow Boone because John Locke would feel guilty for what he did. So that's how I always kind of saw it. What do you guys think?
I have to agree.
I agree. Except for where she saw the horse in Australia.
That's what I'm saying, like, he pulled her memory like the horse. Like that, from what I see, like that horse was a real horse.
Oh, okay.
But that was just what happened, that event. And he knew that would be like something that could get her a certain way.
She was scanned hiding in the tree very early on.
Yeah.
And it was when he used Richard's wife against him, for example, to manipulate him into doing things. That's where I figure, okay, anything that sort of materialized from someone's past before the island that freaks them out and gets them to do something, I think it's all the same.
Yeah,
I agree.
Good answer.
Got a prize for the next question.
Prize for next question. So
my question is.
I see two of those shirts. By the way, these Desmond and Faraday and the Back to the Future DeLorean are awesome.
Where are those?
My name's Jesse.
Okay, Jesse.
When Jack sees his dad in the hospital back on the mainland, the smoke alarm goes off, and that's what draws him in. But the smoke monster's always trying to get back to the mainland. Do they ever explain, is that the smoke monster?
They never explained it. And that could be either Jack, was he starting to drink at that point?
Well, okay, here's my really far out theory.
Okay, ooh, here we go.
People are probably going to run up and do something. But my theory is that everything that happened in Los Angeles didn't happen. It happened on the island. They didn't really get off the island. I don't know how that works exactly, but that's my theory. And the smoke monster didn't get off the island and go to Los Angeles because he didn't. He was there. This was all, I don't know what, but it wasn't, I think it was not in Los Angeles.
Huh. That's like Jack caliber right there. That's nice.
I know, I didn't say it was good.
That's kind of Inception-like. No, well, I mean, because it was weird when, during those LA scenes, that particular period of the series was the most eerie. I mean, it was the most, I got a real strong kind of horror movie, sort of weird, alternate sort of feeling. I mean, later in the series, they tried to go for that. I didn't feel it quite as strongly, but definitely, especially when, Kate comes back to Jack after giving up Aaron and all of that, just something about the way that those scenes were shot really kind of got under my skin, and so I can kind of see where you might come up with the theory that they had never left.
Yeah, that's
I don't know about the rest of you, but I never believed Man in Black was Christian Shepherd all the time, even though he said he was. I don't believe he was Christian Shepherd when he told Michael it's okay to go now. It doesn't make sense to me.
But Jack asked specifically when he saw him in White Rabbit, and he was answering for that in that instance only, is the way I took it.
Okay. The way I saw it.
Well, he's kind of agreeing with you. Just that instance was Christian.
The way I saw it, because we had a talk on and we had a lot of emails on it. People were saying, how could he have been this?